Slav broadcasting live today, April 29th, 2025. Today we're going to do things a little different when it comes to the Major League Baseball picks thing that we've been doing on a weekly basis. Today, instead of it being a group perspective, it's just going to be my perspective. I want to see how this goes. Can y'all hear me out there in YouTube land? Anyway, thank you for joining me here on YouTube. I'm your guy, Bob Amin from Sports Love Media. The games that are scheduled for today, April 29th, with the starting pitchers, we'll start with Minnesota versus Cleveland. That'll be Chris Paddock versus Tanner Bilby. The over-under in that game is 8.5 or 9 points, and the over-under is what they believe the total score will be between both teams in terms of runs scored. Next game we'll look at is the New York Yankees versus Baltimore, which will be Carlos Rodon versus Kyle Gibson. The over-under in that one is 9.5 or 10. Chicago Cubs versus Pittsburgh, which will be Shota Imanaga versus Andrew Heaney. The over-under information is not available. Next game is St. Louis versus Cincinnati with Miles Mikolova versus Brady Singer, and the over-under is 9.5 or 10. Next game we'll look at is Washington versus Philadelphia, which will be Mackenzie Gore versus Zach Wheeler. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. Kansas City versus Tampa Bay, Michael Lorenzen versus Taj Bradley. The over-under is 8.5 or 9 on the runs. Next game you will have is Boston versus Toronto with Garrett Crochet versus Bowden Francis. The over-under is 7.5 or 8. Next you will have Arizona versus the New York Mets with Eduardo Rodriguez versus David Peterson. The over-under is 8.5 or 9. Next, you'll have Milwaukee versus Chicago White Sox with Freddie Peralta versus Bryce Wilson. The over-under is 7.5 or 8. Then you have the Athletics versus Texas. That will be undecided versus Jacob deGrom. And the over-under is 8.5 or 9. And if it's undecided, it means that at the time that this was prepared, they did not have a starting pitcher decided for who they were going to have for that day yet. Next will be Detroit versus Houston with Reese Olson versus Ryan Gusto. The over-under is 7.5 or 8. You have Atlanta versus Colorado, which will be undecided versus German Marquez. The over-under is 10.5 or 11. You have the Los Angeles Angels versus Seattle. You have Jack Koshanashwish, I'm sorry, I could not pronounce that, versus Bryce Miller. The over-under is 7.5 or 8. You have San Francisco versus San Diego, which will be Logan Webb versus Nick Pivetta. The over-under is 6.5 or 7. Last game we'll look at will be Miami versus Los Angeles Dodgers with Sandy Alcantara versus undecided. The over-under information is not available. So let's go back through and pick these. Thank you for joining me today for the Big Bomb. Thank you for joining me today. So my picks for the games today: Minnesota versus Cleveland. We're gonna go Cleveland winning that one. And what I'm going to do on that one for the over-under, I don't know if 9 runs will be scored in that game, so we're going to go under on that one. The New York Yankees versus Baltimore, I'm going to go the New York Yankees to win the game, and both teams in that game are known for scoring runs, so because of them known for scoring runs, we're going to go over on that game. In the Chicago Cubs game versus Pittsburgh, I think I'm going to go Pittsburgh winning that one. I'm not sure. Oh, wait, well, there's no over-under information available on that. So since the over-under information is not available, I'm just going to say that the total runs between those games will be 7 runs between the two of them. They're not known for scoring a lot, so... Next game, Cincinnati versus St. Louis versus Cincinnati. We're going to go Cincinnati to win that one. And the over-under is 9.5 or 10. Let's see, 9.5 or 10 between St. Louis or Cincinnati. We're going to go over on that one. Buck Nasty, thank you for your input. I do appreciate it. And the Hunting Kid, I do appreciate that as well. Tyler, hello, how are you? All right, next game we're going to look at is going to be Washington versus Philadelphia. And I'm going to go Philadelphia to win that one. And for the over-under, on the over-under on that game, I'm going to go under 9 on that one. Yeah, I'm thinking that they're going to go under. You know, the Yanks will go under, but I went over on that one because I think they'll score runs, but we shall see on that one. Next game we have will be Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. I'm going to go Kansas City under 9. Kansas City under 9. Let's see, Boston versus Toronto. Let's see, I'm going to go the Boston Red Sox, and I'm going to go over on the 8. Yeah, I'm going to go over on the 8 on that one. Let's see, Arizona versus the New York Mets. The New York Mets is not that great. They generally are not. Hello to Racically. I appreciate it that you joined me today. I greatly do appreciate it. In the Arizona versus New York Mets, I'm going Arizona to win that one. And I think I'm going under the 9. All right, next game we're going to look at will be Milwaukee versus the Chicago White Sox. I'm going to go Milwaukee to win that game. Chicago's not doing that well right now. Last year they did absolutely terrible. And I'm going to go over on the 8. I'm going to go over on the 8. Yeah, I know the Mets won yesterday, but the Mets are somewhat better than they were last year. They're not going to win them all, and I still stand by the fact that I have them losing today. So we're going to have Arizona beat the New York Mets today. Now, any other day, that might be different. So, let's see. Oh, yeah, and I went over the 8 on that one. All right, the next game we're going to have is the Athletics versus Texas. I'm going to go I'm going to go Texas on that one, and I'm going under the 9. I don't think they'll score a lot of runs. They haven't been scoring a lot of runs lately. Oh, okay. I thank you for your comments, Buck Nasty. It's greatly appreciated. And, yeah, go White Sox. They need some wins because last year they really didn't do so hot. So, next game we're going to do is Detroit versus Houston. Those two teams seem to not be impressing me right now in the early part of the season. However, just because they don't impress me now doesn't mean that they won't change things later. I'm going to go Houston winning that one, and it's going to be over the 8. All right, next game we have will be Atlanta versus Colorado. And that one's a little bit tough, too, because Atlanta, yeah, they've won a few games here and there, and they are off to somewhat of a good start. But Colorado is that unpredictable Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde complex team, and you don't know which team's going to show up. So, you know, I think I'm going to go Atlanta and under 11. Alright, sorry about the noise. We got a train coming, so give me just a second and I'll continue on, okay? Hang on momentarily. I apologize for the noise. All right, the next game we're going to look at will be the Los Angeles Angels versus Seattle. I think I'm going to go the Los Angeles Angels, and we're going to go over the 8. Los Angeles Angels will win that game over Seattle, and we're going to go over the 8. All right, next game we're going to look at will be San Francisco versus San Diego. And this game seems to be one of those ones they don't really give enough credit where credit is due. Both of those teams have not really been scoring a lot of runs lately, but sometimes they do. And I think in the San Francisco-San Diego game, I'm going to go San Diego, and I'm going to go over the 7. San Diego and over the 7. And I'm just curious. I'm not sure where that Seattle game is, but in terms of the San Francisco game, I'm curious, what makes you think San Francisco is going to win that game, and what makes you think it's going to be under 7 runs? Because, I mean, that seems a little bit low to me, but I'd like to know your insight. What makes you think that San Francisco is going to win that game, and it'll be under 7? So you're saying the San Francisco pitcher is better? Is that what I'm gathering? Ah, I got you. Well, I do appreciate that. I was just, like I said, I'm going to stick by my original decision with what I'm going with that, but I was curious as to your thoughts on that. So, San Francisco team might be better, but today I don't think they'll win against San Diego. That's just my opinion. But we shall see. And, you know, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. But either way, I'm doing this to have a little bit of fun, and I do appreciate you joining me for that. So, last game we're going to look at today that will be being played today will be Miami versus the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, the over-under information is not available, so I'm going to say that one's going to be an 8-run game, and it will go in favor of Los Angeles Dodgers. So we're going to have the Los Angeles Dodgers win that game with a total runs of... Yeah, I saw the money line, but I don't do money line stuff. Although, if you want, I can start including money line information when I can get it, but sometimes I don't get it till right before the game starts. So next week when we do this live stream, I'll include the information that I have, and then I'll include money line if that is available. But money line isn't always available for every game, so I can see what I can find. But anyway, so just to recap in this game, in the Minnesota versus Cleveland game, we went Cleveland under 9. The New York Yankees versus Baltimore, we went New York Yankees with over 10. The Chicago Cubs versus Pittsburgh, we went Pittsburgh. The over-under information was not available, and I said that was going to be 8 runs. In the St. Louis versus Cincinnati game, we went Cincinnati, or I went Cincinnati, and I went over on I went over 10. For Washington versus Philadelphia, I chose Philadelphia, and I went under the 9. Kansas City versus Tampa Bay, which I chose Kansas City and under the 9. Boston versus Toronto, chose Boston and went over the 8. Arizona versus New York Mets, I went Arizona with under 9. Milwaukee versus Chicago White Sox, I went Milwaukee over Chicago White Sox and over the 8. The Athletics versus Texas, with the over-under 9, or 8.5 to 9, and I went Texas to win and under 9. For the Detroit-Houston game, I went with Houston, and I went over the 8. Atlanta versus Colorado, chose Atlanta to win, and it would be under the 11. Los Angeles Angels versus Seattle, I went Los Angeles Angels with over the 8. Let's see. Then San Francisco versus San Diego, I went San Diego, and I went over the 7. And in the Miami-Los Angeles Dodgers game, I went Los Angeles Dodgers, and I mentioned that there would be 8 runs scored in the game since there was no information available on the over-under. So there you have it, Major League Baseball games that are being played today, and my perspective on who I think will win, as well as my perspective on the over-under. Again, it is just my predictions. You know, my predictions could be wrong. If they are, so be it. If they're good, right, then also so be it. Anyway, thank you for taking the time today to join me for this special live stream regarding Major League Baseball. If you will, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I'm doing these live streams for Major League Baseball, when I have sports action videos, when I have sports education videos, excuse me, when I broadcast live, or when I have breaking news in the sports world. If you wish to subscribe, it is greatly appreciated. You can go. There are 2 ways to do it. One, you go to www.youtube.com, the slash symbol, the at symbol, SPORTSLOV. The simpler way to do it would be to go to the YouTube search tab, type in Bob Amin, Bobamin. You'll know it's me because I have Sports Live Media, Burned Into a Basketball as my avatar. I'm also on Twitter X. My handle is at BobAmin16. For Twitter X, that will be the at symbol, BOBAMIN16. I do look forward to doing this live stream once again. We will have another Major League Baseball live stream next Tuesday. Not sure of the time yet, but we will be doing it on Tuesday of next week. We may have a live stream here or there before then, but if not, the next live stream for sure will be Tuesday of next week. There will be other live streams coming as you know, in the next few weeks. I just don't have the exact dates and times for those yet, but we will have them as soon as they come available. Anybody has any questions or comments regarding what we talked about today? Anybody? Well, yeah, next week we may try something a little different, but I don't know yet. But anyway, thank you again for tuning in to this live broadcast. I am broadcasting live. I'm Bob Amin. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.